Use the ultimate rich man's Roth. In this episode, we are going to address the question, what is the best way to have the greatest flexibility with my retirement savings? And so we're going to do a little deep dive into what many savvy CPAs and tax attorneys call the rich man's Roth, but you don't have to be rich to have one. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist for more than 45 years. And I helped many thousands of clients optimize their financial assets, minimize unnecessary taxes, and prepare for retirement to not outlive their money, empower their true wealth, and just enjoy life and not have to worry about money. I love taking them through a meaningful transformation. But one of the little beatitudes that I've used for years is, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. And so in any financial plan, I would always build in tremendous flexibility because frankly, a lot of Americans, a lot of people in the world, when they start saving for a long-term goal like retirement, do not have flexibility because life is full of surprises and curveballs, and all of a sudden this happens, and all of a sudden you have a surprise child on the way, or this or that happens, or the economy, or you lose your job, or the coronavirus comes out, and people all of a sudden lose all the ground they gained the last 2 or 3 years when the market takes a nosedive of 30 or 40%. This is going to keep happening. And so you want to have flexibility in any financial plan so you don't have that opposite, that rigid system where your money is trapped and I can't get it because if I do, there's going to be a 10% penalty if I touch it before age 59 and a half, but doggone it, I'm really hurting. I need to dip into that IRA or 401k, or golly, the value is only this. I want to wait till it gets back up to this value. I want to, in this episode, explain to you what I think is one of the greatest flexible places to have your serious cash so that no matter what curveball life throws at you, you can bounce back. You can have resilience. You don't lose. You have all kinds of flexibility. And it is what many savvy CPAs and tax attorneys, when I teach them in advanced continuing education, they go, whoa. That is like the rich man's Roth. And I go, well, that's nice, but you don't have to be rich to own one, but the rich can't own a Roth. So stay with me here. I'm going to show you the difference between a Roth and what we call the rich man's Roth, or what I call the laser fund. 91% of Americans, unfortunately, I think are duped into putting their long-term retirement savings into traditional IRAs or 401ks. Why are they duped? Because they're told, oh, put pre-tax money into an IRA or 401k. You'll have more money in there. It will grow to a bigger sum because so many people don't realize you don't choose investments based upon which ones grow to the most, because if you do a traditional IRA or 401k, they say, well, look, it grows to the most. No, you should choose your investments based upon which ones will generate the most net spendable income to you at the time in life when you're going to need the money the most. You have to subtract the taxes you're going to pay on the back end, what inflation's going to do, and so forth. So traditional IRAs and 401ks are pretty pathetic. That's why occasionally you'll see articles like Time Magazine in 2008, after so many people lost 40% for the second time in that decade, they had a cover page article, why it's time to retire the 401k and do something better instead. They called a 401k, even an IRA, a financial flop, a rotten repository for our retirement reserves. They were talking about it because of the market volatility and how people lost their future. Well, I wrote an article years before that titled, Why Congress is Peddling IRA and 401k Snake Oil. See, it's the best savings bond the government ever came up with for themselves because they're telling you you're going to be in a lower bracket. And most people are not in lower brackets when they retire. That has not been the case for over 25 years. The government has a permanent tax lien on that. So they're using you as their partner. So at the end of the day, they get 25, 35, 40% of whatever's in that IRA or 401k. Whether you leave it there, wait till you're 70 and a half or now 72, and you have to start taking out the money, it's taxable. And so many people get caught in that snare and they're told to take R.M.Ds, required minimum distributions, which is the worst advice I've ever heard. And I have other episodes that explain why. But see, traditional IRAs and 401ks have failed most Americans. That's why a few years ago, the Wall Street Journal in January had an article that said that the original champions of the 401k lament the day they ever came up with that idea. Because again, people had it in the market. The biggest reason to me is people are in lower tax brackets, and yeah, they should be protected from market volatility. And so I like to use the laser fund. It's what I call it. Laser is an acronym that stands for liquid assets, safely earning returns. But this is what the CPAs and tax attorneys call the rich man's Roth. Now, a Roth is a step in the right direction. It was passed in 1997. And Senator Harry Roth realized that the government was hard up for money. They didn't do it for you and me particularly. It may not be a bad strategy for some people to convert to a Roth. They did it because they needed tax revenue. And if people converted to a Roth, it would trigger taxes. Well, let's take after-tax money and have it be tax-free thereafter so that when you retire, it's tax-free. So Roths have two advantages. You take after-tax money. You fund it with after-tax money because you believe in the future taxes will be higher, which most people believe. So this is a better strategy. If taxes go up in the future, I can prove a Roth will probably provide about 33% more in net spendable income than the same amount of money in a traditional IRA or 401k. But I don't own an IRA or 401k, never have, never will, but I don't own a Roth, never have, never will. Because Roths have just two advantages. It accumulates your money tax-free. That's a good advantage. And you can take it out tax-free. The laser fund has been structured under the Internal Revenue Code for over a century to do that. You can accumulate your money tax-free. You can access it tax-free. It's a maximum funded tax advantaged insurance contract, and if it's structured correctly, you can earn, like I have, 8 to 10% average. I mean, some years I've earned 25% up 55% one year. But on the average, I earn between 7 to 10%. Some years I only earn 0 or 1. In other words, I don't earn anything, but I don't lose, because when the market goes down, I don't lose, and that's called indexing. But going back to the advantages of a laser fund, here are 4 additional advantages that create the flexibility that allows me to deal with life no matter what happens that Roths do not offer. So a laser fund, you don't have to be rich to own one. I mean, you could set one up for $500 a month. But see, the rich can't own a Roth. They make too much money. So here's the 4 additional advantages that the laser fund has and why it's called the rich man's Roth. If I have a banner year and I want to sock away $300,000, I can set up a laser fund to accommodate that. You cannot put in that much money into a Roth unless it's a rollover one time or something. But let's say 4 days after I put in $300,000, I need $250,000 back for some emergency or opportunity. I can do that with an electronic funds transfer or phone call. There's no IRS penalty. You can't do that with a Roth. If you put it in, you have to leave it there for 5 years or until you're 59 and a half. You can't put in that much money. Also, if I can put in $300,000 and I don't, I only put in, let's say 10, 20, 50,000, and I do that for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden I have a huge windfall of $1 million. I can make up for all the money I could have put into my laser fund that I didn't. I can put it in one fell swoop. You can't do that with a Roth. If you don't put in what you are allowed to in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th year from then, you can't retroactively go back and make up for it. No, it's all a silo every year. So a laser fund has that flexibility where I can put in nothing, I can put in a little amount, I can put in a whole bunch, I can take it out. I can access the money. The big advantage is if I need money, I can access it for any reason. It doesn't have to be for some hardship or whatever. The 5th biggest advantage is with the laser fund, I can use indexing so that when the market goes up, I make money. When the market goes down, I do not lose. I may not make money, but that way I'm able to make money tax-free. When the market goes down, I don't lose. And the final is that whenever I pass away, none of us are getting out of here alive. I mean, out of this life. When we ultimately pass away, if you have a laser fund, it blossoms in value instantly and transfers tax-free to your heirs, your kids, grandkids, a church, a charity, the Boy Scouts, the Red Cross, whoever you want to leave it to, it blossoms. And what do I mean by that? If I died right now, I'm 67, if I had $1 million in this laser fund account, let's say, if I died, that $1 million would blossom right now to about $2.5 million and transfer tax-free to my wife, or to my kids, or to my church, whoever I leave it to. There's not a Roth around that will do that. People say, well, how much does that cost? That's not the question. How much did it make you? I've been earning an average of 11% for the last 25 years, netting 1%. Do you know I would have to be earning 15% in any other investment to net 10? But see, I only have to earn 11 to net 10. That's 1 percentage point. That would be going out the window in unnecessary income tax if I had a traditional IRA or 401k. And so that's what pays for it to blossom in value, because it transfers into a tax-free insurance proceed under Section 101A. It's the only vehicle in the Internal Revenue Code that allows you to accumulate your money tax-free, access it tax-free, and when you die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free. And there's not all these restrictions. It's the most flexible vehicle. So why would I ever own a traditional IRA or 401k or a Roth when I can have the 2 benefits of a Roth and 4 additional benefits with tons of flexibility? Click on this episode, watch it, and in there you'll learn how you can go to laserfund.com. That's the title of my book. I'll pay for the book. I'll send it out to you. You pay $5.95 shipping and handling, and you can learn how you can have what people call the rich man's Roth. And you don't necessarily have to be rich to own one, but someday you will be rich because you do own one.